Hello, Internet! Welcome to Two and a Half Brains. This is our latest discussion of Survivor Season 42. I looked it up. It said episode 8 online, so I'm going with episode 8. Could be 9, could be 7, could be whatever, because of the double episode. But we're going to break it all down here, talk all about it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pavement Road Productions. You can email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe, share the post, tell your friends. We have a lot more coming out here. We're going to have some more sports content coming out soon, and maybe some more news and politics show as well coming out here soon. So definitely subscribe so you get everything. If you subscribe, if it's something you're not interested in, skip it, move on. We have a lot of people who love our Amazing Race show and don't watch Survivor. Cool. Subscribe so you get everything. You have people who like Jessica who likes Amazing Race and hates Survivor. Just subscribe and so you get that. If you like the show, the sports, and you like the politics, cool. Do that too. Subscribe so you get that. Not subscribe, but just skip what you don't like. No big deal. I won't take offense to it. But subscribe so you don't miss what you like. Let's go ahead and bring in Jessica for this episode. I had to pull her back in because she was out. She was out. She was out last season. Last season broke her, and I got her to come back in. And now she had one foot and 4 toes out the door on the other foot. I had to bring her back in and talk her off the ledge because another episode of going outside the game again, and we'll talk all about it, break it all down here. Let's go ahead and bring in Jessica though first. Jessica, hello, welcome to the show.
Hello.
We'll save it all for the show. We won't talk about really anything else. We won't go into any details. The world is upside down. The cat's fighting with the dog's fighting with the cat. It's a good time. So we'll talk all about it here. Let's start with the episode. Obviously, we'll get to everything else, but let's just start with what happened in this episode. Give me your initial thoughts, or just kind of tell me how this episode went. You can recap it a little bit. Start from the top, though, and we'll get to the other stuff. But
Well, they had their immunity challenge by splitting into 2 teams of 5.
which would have been nice to see how they did it.
Yeah.
I've been saying that forever. If it's a draw, let's see that. That might be interesting. If it's a pick 'em, let's see that. It might be interesting. If it's something else, producers doing it, at least see it too, because we want as much information as possible.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So it was all the girls with Jonathan and all of the remaining guys in a group. They had to balance on
The doghouse.
a doghouse, say a triangle, in the water, and fight against the waves for balance. And whoever was remaining on either tribe wins immunity. Whoever was remaining overall at the end wins food for their group.
Yep. So that's what happened, and it was the famous, Andrew Belke, Brenda Lowe from Caramoan, where they're standing on the doghouse and they say, "Hey, we're both gonna be here forever." And it was very calm winds, very calm ocean that day, not like this one. So they decided to stand on one foot, and whoever standing on one foot on top of the thing would win. And they may have thrown rules to it. Since that they do this one pretty much every season at this point, and it's a fun time. This one was the craziest one they've ever had, though. This challenge with the wind and the waves were so crazy, so insane. So what ended up happening, Jessica?
I'm fighting with the cat.
Oh, I understand.
Hai won on the one tribe. Jonathan and Lindsay battled for a while, and Jonathan won on the other, and then Jonathan ended up winning the food for his girls.
Yep, for sure. So so that's how that one went down, and it was a very quick challenge because of the wind and the waves and everything. But
Everybody fell quickly.
yeah, for sure. So it's a carbon copy of last season. They're gonna probably have around the final 5, 7, or whatever the hell it is, final 6, where they have the person. If you fall out first, you have to do the pick your one of 3 chances going home type of thing. The shot in the dark is still yielded 0 saves, which is, the odds at some point have got to get better. But I digress. So let's go ahead and talk about the 3 moments that matter from the episode. We'll start pretty much where the episode started, even before the immunity challenge. Was moment that mattered number 1 was what?
Who the hell voted for me?
Yes, we gotta say it in the Rupert voice. Who the hell voted for me? Who the hell voted for me?
I am not doing that.
John? Yeah. Who the hell voted for me? I did. What the was that last night? To quote Rupert from season 7. so that was obviously Rupert when he got votes. He got second vote when they vote out. They voted out Burton for the second time, and John and Burton voted for Rupert, tried to get Rupert out, and he didn't take too kindly when he got back to camp, and he wanted to rip John's head off. So that was one of the most famous moments ever. And also, not for nothing, but also when Rupert got voted out that season, it was one of the greatest final words of all time when he said, "Well, there goes my dreams." But so that was the historical part of that. How does that relate to this episode? Well,
Isn't Rupert R.I.P.?
no, Rupert's he just has cancer.
Oh,
But speaking of which,
someone else.
thank you though. Thank you for reminding me. I almost forgot. I can't believe I forgot. Ralph Kaiser passed away this week. Ralph Kaiser from Survivor 22, Boston Rob's fourth season, the season he won, and Ralph was on the other tribe with Russell, and they threw the challenge to get rid of Russell. And I think he was the only one of the jury. He was the only one of the jury who voted against Rob. So Rob got all the votes except for one, and Ralph, who couldn't spell or anything, threw his vote on File. He voted for File to win, which was Philip, but he still had File. Rest in peace, Ralph. You'll be missed. That's for our family. It happened like Wednesday night last week or Thursday, so we didn't have a chance to talk about it, but sad news. No easy way to transition, but let's go on to talk a little bit more about that first moment that mattered, which was...
Who the hell voted for me?
And what was that from this week?
Hai going on a rampage, asking who voted for him when he had an inkling of who voted for him anyways, and Romeo basically kept saying he didn't vote for him, but everybody knows he voted for Hai.
Yeah, and he said he threw a vote on Hai just to kind of stir the pot, and it definitely worked. I mean, it definitely is the best move that Romeo made, kind of stirring up stuff. Obviously, he needed Hai later, so that maybe wasn't the best thing, but Hai was kind of going, he said, I know who voted for me, but who's going to admit it? Who's going to admit it? And,
So just letting it go.
Right. It wasn't a good look for Rupert. And you know who it is. So why you gotta make it a big deal, right? Rupert, it was a bad look for Rupert when he was going after John. And everybody hated John, everybody loved Rupert. So it was like, oh, Rupert's great, blah, blah. But, when Fair Play threw that vote on Rupert, he intended to actually vote out Rupert. And Romeo threw a vote on Hai. It really didn't need it. Hai really didn't need to go after him like that. I mean, it's fine. You got to vote. You're upset about it. But, dude, you're going to get votes. You're probably going to get votes. If you're playing the game well, you're going to get some votes.
Right.
So, it was just kind of, it just really made me think back to that Rupert moment. That's all. So anyways, let's go ahead and move on to moment matter number 2.
Roxroy is the Three Amigos.
Yeah, so before there was Christian Ubicki, there was John Cochran. Now, John Cochran was not nearly as confident the first time playing. He was still not as confident the second time playing as Christian was. Christian was very confident for being a nerdy guy. But they were very similar personalities. John Cochran was the original, super nerd, brainiac on the show, that was prominent. And that season, Cochran season 1, he had 3 guys, Reynold, Eddie, and Malcolm, who had a reward, and Cochran was in there with him. I think Eric came back as well, was with them. And they said, hey, all 5 guys, let's go bro down, let's take these girls out, let's go win. And Cochran's like, yes, let's go, with our men and our manliness and our sweat, and let's go slap each other with towels in the bathroom. And and he was making fun of them. So he's like, guys they always think because we're guys we're gonna have a similar interest, and it's just not the way it is. And Roxroy did that to 2 different people. Mm-hmm. He did it to Romeo, or he did it to Hai, and he did it to Omer.
Yeah. And
they're both of them are looking like, let's make an alliance because we're guys. What's the point to that? I mean, I guess you can form alliance for any reason, but even Omer said, you've had 0 conversations with me really the whole time. You've worked with me through other people, through Drea, through other people, through Jonathan. But now we're gonna form alliance because we're guys. That doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. And so he did the Three Amigos, which were those three guys, to Cochran. He did it to those two people. He's like, hey, we're men. We must stand up and fight against the women and blah blah blah. And they're like, sure, that's a good enough reason as any, I guess. But it's not really something to form an alliance on, because the fact that we're all dudes. And what is a dude anyways in today's day and age?
Yeah, but you always want all girl alliances, and that shouldn't mean anything because they're all girls too.
I don't think that I'm not really for girls alliances. What I'm for is making smart moves, and if that is to form up, then that's what you should do. But I don't think, because the girls always turn each other before the guys do. The guys will work together more often because the guys are they're strong. I always think that the girls should, like for example, the Yellow Tribe last season, right, with Xander and Evie and all them. I think it was smart for the girls to work together because, especially in a small tribe, the girls are always going to be the first one out, and the girls are in a disadvantage. So I think the girls should work together pre-merge, for sure. After that, do what you need to do. But I think it's certain times where it does make sense to do that, because the women are always the early boots, pre-merge, because the guys for the challenges, blah, blah, blah. And that's maybe true, but I think that's why girls pre-merge should work together. But that's neither here nor there, but it's a good point, very good point. And it's just the whole thing of we need to work together because we're men. It doesn't fly, and so many guys, especially in this season especially too, they're just not for that. That's not something they're gonna do, right? It's like, oh yeah, we need to stick together. That has nothing to do with anything. What do you think? I want to get your opinion on this.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if you're not talking to anybody beforehand, you can't just come up to them and ask to form an alliance if you haven't ever talked to them before. A guy alliance is fine, I guess, but most of them want to keep their options open and don't want to have something that's solid, I guess. Or Omer wants to work with everybody, so for him to be in a solid alliance is just not what he wants.
And of course, you're gonna say yes, of course. And that's how it works. But in Omer's saying, it's like if I go, the reason he doesn't want to go all guys is because he knows that Roxroy or Mike or Jonathan will beat him in the immunity challenges on the stretch. And then he'll have to make fire or be taken in the end. That's not what he wants.
Right.
He wants to be able to have people who he can beat in challenges, not just have all the challenge beats at the end. Of course, everybody sees it from their own perspective, and that's the narrow-mindedness of playing the game. Well, I'm a strong guy, so I want to keep other strong guys, so I'm not targeted.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but you can't sell it like that to a not strong guy.
Right.
Right. And so I think that's part of the problem. So Roxroy just really went at it like he was one of the Three Amigos going after John Cochran, and Cochran's like, yeah, totally. It's like, I maybe think of when you just said it, maybe think of Debbie Wanner in her first season when she made an alliance with Ty. They met at the merge, had never met before. She goes up to Ty and goes, "Hey Ty, I think we should work together." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "Well, I don't really have any alliance." He goes, "You have an alliance right now. We're in an alliance." Mm-mm. And he's like, "Okay, I guess we're in an alliance." It didn't even build a relationship. And she goes, "I'm locking it down. We're in an alliance." And he's like, "Okay, if you say," it's like that's how Roxroy was. It's just like, we're in an alliance now because we're guys, and yeah, we're gonna win. And it's like social game was just not existent for Roxroy, really. Right. And that's we'll talk about that a little more later on, I guess. But that was very rough to watch for sure. Especially someone who probably never formed a guy's alliance, because it's just not. When you limit your options like that, it's just not a good thing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, what is number 3?
Public voting. So
you don't think it's happened since the Varner vote? On season 34, the last vote before the merge, when Varner outed Zeke, and everybody got upset and was flipping on Varner for outing Zeke, and they didn't vote. They didn't even vote that travel. There's Varner was like, "I'm upset. I can't believe I did that. I didn't mean to do it." Blah blah blah. And he's crying, and everybody's crying, and they're like, "Do we even need to vote?" And they're like, "No," and they're like, "Oh, no," and Jeff's like, "I'm ready to go," and Varner's like, "I'm ready to go," and so they said, "All right, it's Varner," and that was it, and it was kind of the same thing here, because there was all the emotion and like that, and then Jonathan had immunity. The two set up played their idols, and so it's like, well, we don't really need to vote because there's only 2 people we can vote for, and it sounds like 4 of them are pretty tight.
Yeah.
against one. So tell me about that a little more.
So it was between Tori and Lindsay. They asked who they were leaning towards keeping, and they said Lindsay because they all have closer bonds with her, work with her. Tori wanted to know why people didn't want to keep her. She's not trustworthy. She lies to people.
Everybody lies, but yeah.
I know, but she was also pretty Roxroy-ish, if you will. She was very
sure.
much badgering people until they answered her and talk about it, or just being too blunt to people about stuff. This is not a game of bluntness. It's a game of trying to make people believe what you're saying and lying to them.
Oh, for sure. And everybody lies, and Tori, of course, Tori lies. Everybody lies. But with Tori, like you said, she was. I think her and Roxroy didn't get along because they were so similar. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because when they walked in, right, they all walked in. They see Roxroy was first one to vote out, and then they did the second one. The second vote, and they walk in. They're all like shocked. The eyes are big, and their mouths are agape when Roxroy was voted out. Even Tori, which is like she didn't like him. It's like she had no social game, really. I mean, very, very little. Nobody wanted to work with her. She was definitely an enigma, and the whole, and that's, it's like they're all pretty close with Lindsay. Mm-hmm. She really had no social game, so it's like, well, of course it's her,
right?
And she's like, well, why me? Blah blah blah. It's like, well, it's between you and the person everybody likes,
right?
And nobody really likes you, and whether it's your fault, whether it's not, your social game wasn't great. That's why she was on the bottom of every vote, and had to somehow survive. I think there was I think she was at 3 tribal councils where she wasn't immune. Mm-hmm. Right, because she was immune the first 2 at the merge, and she went to two pre-merge.
Right.
And then she voted out the 3rd one, and she had to survive the other 2 barely. Mm-hmm. Right, Shwadi had to blow herself up, and Zach had to blow himself up.
Right.
Really, the only reason she survived the 2 votes is because the two people who went home imploded, and she had immunity, and then she didn't have immunity here. So, I mean, it was like, it was very strange. I will say I liked that Tori did fight and said, I'm going to play my shot in the dark then, at least, and didn't just take it. Some people just said, okay, fine, whatever, it's me.
Yeah.
At least she played it, and it was going to be, well, either you're safe and Lindsay goes, or Lindsay's safe and whatever. If I'm Lindsay, I would play my shot in the dark too, because when else are you going to have a chance to play it? You might as well have. And because if you can't vote, the other 3 are still voting your way anyways. So.
Right.
But it was very strange. They don't usually do that where they don't have anybody vote, where they just kind of publicly say it. I hate that because groupthink really sets in. And if somebody else wanted to make a move, obviously I don't think they were going to. Maybe that's why Jeff didn't do it, because they weren't going to. But it's like voting for president or Congress. And you have to say it in front of everybody. I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad idea. But regardless, are you want to switch gears and talk about who did not survive?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll start with the first one. Who did not survive times 2? Who did not survive the first vote?
Roxroy.
Why Roxroy?
Because he was trying to push this alliance of people that he didn't even work with, and like we said, he's very direct and not easy to work with. And Omar was saying how he would talk strategy, Roxroy would talk strategy when Roxroy wanted to. Besides that, don't bother with him, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like you said too earlier, right? I mean, he was just kind of, this is what we're doing, and he even said that. He goes, yeah, we didn't really scramble much. We just kind of were like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and we're guys. We just say what we want to do, and we don't beat around the bush. It's like, you do that. Mm-hmm. It's so. I'd say the biggest problem with Roxroy and maybe people in general is they think everybody sees the world the way they do.
Right.
Like Roxroy, he's an older guy. A lot of younger guys don't think the way older guys do, anymore. And everybody sees the world, I think, a little differently.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to just say, we're guys, we do it this way. And it's like, well, major mansplaining, for sure. But it's not. He had no social game, and he really wasn't strategic. He was okay in challenges. That was, as far as being a good Survivor player, he seemed like a nice guy. Mm-hmm. He seemed like somebody I would let watch my kids. Aside from that, didn't really bring much to the table.
Yeah.
I don't think he was a good player.
No. Mm-mm.
And especially with at least 50% of the game, probably more than that, being social. I'd say 80% of the game social. I'd say it's 80 social, 15 strategic, 5 physical. And and he's talking about how Jonathan gets up early and goes fishing, and he goes out and gathers firewood and stuff. It's great. And he goes, they're gonna do that, then they're gonna vote us out. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
All right, that's how Survivor works. If I'm on Survivor, I align with Jonathan. He makes me food. He makes me fire. He does everything around camp, and then I vote him out.
Right.
Because I don't need him anymore. Because he can help me survive, make my life easier for more than half the show.
Yeah.
And then I vote him out.
Yeah.
So Roxroy was playing a game from he was playing. He really thought he was on Survivor 2. I think 42. I think he was actually dropped the 4, keep the 2. I think he was on Survivor 2. He thought he was playing a game from 2001, not 2022. So.
Did they even say that this season?
No, they didn't. Because it's a little more awkward to say drop the 4 and keep the 1. It's a little more awkward to say drop the 4 and keep the 2, because they didn't see the 1, so it wouldn't make sense. So yeah, either way, it's still stupid. Rockstar was playing a game from 20 years ago, and not the modern game.
Right.
Unfortunately, so easy. He wasn't winning. Easy to see why he went out. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Tori. And what'd you say right when she got voted out? What'd you say about her and Roxbury?
Oh, it's how ironic that they got voted out back to back when they were gunning for each other the whole time.
Isn't it, I mean, and not that has anything to do with this, the reason they got voted out, really.
No, it's just the irony of it.
But that always is the case. Like almost always. Like you can look at so many times when there's 2 arch rivals, they almost always go out back to back. Like, I guarantee you, if Dom or Wendell got voted out, the other one got voted out.
Yeah.
When it was Jessica Lewis and Chris Hammonds, they're gunning for each other. Chris was gunning for Jessica. Jessica gunning for Chris. Chris gets knocked out. Jessica went out immediately after. Like it's just when it's 2 rivals batting, going head to head, almost always the one who wins is now the threat. Mm-hmm. Right? You kill the biggest threat, now you become the biggest threat. Right. and that's what happens. That wasn't in this case, but that happens a lot. What did Tori do wrong? I think there's a lot we can unpack here. I want to kind of focus it in a little bit. What did Tori do wrong in your opinion?
I mean, we kind of talked about it before. She's just too abrupt with people, said exactly what she wanted to say, did not really try to relate to people in that kind of sense of being a therapist and taking in what other people are saying and everything. She's just very much in your face about whatever she wanted.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the 25-year-old-ness of it, because, probably. I mean, I can't imagine, like, if this is the new way therapists are going, I'm not ever going to go to therapy. I'll be better off drinking. But, like, I said, one of my favorite players of all time is Denise Stapley. I think she's an absolute rock star, one of the greatest players to ever play. And because she was a therapist, she used that. She listened to people. She spoke very little, listened really well, gathered information, then used it. And, it was brilliant. Same occupation, spoke a lot, listened very little. Like the opposite of what you want to do as a therapist and as a Survivor player. She was very aggressive. She knew the game. She's a fan. She said her favorite player is Jonathan Penner, and she met him when she was 11 years old, and all that great stuff, and awesome, good for her, and fantastic. Just the problem with superfans a lot is either naivete, or lack of social skills. Like Jacob Derwin. You remember Jacob, the musician from Ghost Island? Second one? Yeah, the hair guy. Yeah. Second one voted out?
Yeah.
He was going to be the first one voted out if he didn't go to Ghost Island.
Right.
He knew he could probably recite the boot order of the entire series. Everybody vote out in every order in every season. He probably could.
You can't?
No, I can't. Not even close. I forget seasons after they're done. Some of them I can, but not.
That's not even true. You don't forget them when they're done.
I don't forget. I don't know the intimate details of them. I'm not like that. But Jacob could probably recite every boot of every episode of every season. I mean, he could told you the tribe name of every merged tribe, right? But he had no social skills, right? And that's a problem. And even JD, right, from last season, super duper fan, grew up watching Survivor, vote out fourth, fifth, because he couldn't pick up the cues. It was very naive, and that's a big problem with super fans a lot. Tori, I think if she was playing this game with not people but chess pieces, she wins. And that's so often a problem for super fans. They play the games as if the players are chess pieces, not players, not people. And then it was, I think Roxroy was just, we're doing this. Tori was more strategic because she knew what she should do, but she had no social game. And it's easy to think what you would do in the game. I can see on my couch say I would do this, I would do this. But if I'm not having good working relationships with people, it's not happening. And that's the big part, because I think everything builds off the social game. If people don't want to work with you, you can have the greatest strategy in the world, but if they don't want to work with you, it's not going to happen. Right. And I think that's why Tori lost.
Yeah.
You want anything else? I know you were kind of not fans of either one of these two. I don't know if you want to kind of go a little more into it.
No, it's just pretty much that. Tori would get under my skin with things, and like even the look she made before she played her shot in the dark. It's like everything. Yeah, it's just a game. Ray takes it so much more that you can't take any of this personal. It's a game, but.
No, for sure. And I think she'll be good on the jury, because I think a lot of the good jurors are the Eliza Orlins, the eye rolls, the look of ugh, on their face is makes it for a good juror.
Yeah.
I think Shan will be good, or Chanel will be a good juror, as well for that reason. But yeah, she. And a lot of that was in the confessional, so other people weren't seeing it, I guess, which is good. But it's like you really don't want to put all that out there, because I think she's probably a weirdo, and she prayed about it, which is I respect that, and I respect that she played a shot in the dark. I respect she didn't just take it and lie down. So I respect those two things about her. But other than that, just trying to you're playing chess. Like Chanel said, she's playing chess with people playing checkers. I think it was maybe the opposite. And for Tori, she was playing chess when everyone else was playing Survivor. Yeah, I mean, she took okay, we're moving this piece here, this piece here, this piece here, and they're like, we're playing Survivor, right? Like you can't talk to us like that,
right?
And that's the problem. So
yeah,
and that's why she lost.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about the top three and bottom three. This is really hard top three and bottom three, just because of the fact that there's two votes, two separate reasons why people get voted out this week. I mean, I guess similar, but how they got there was very different, everything like that, and they split into two different tribes, so it's really kind of hard to say who made the right decision, who made the wrong decision, especially because all the votes were unanimous. It was 4-1 on Roxroy, and Tori got voted out with an actual vote, right? So it was 4-0. So I can't really say who did right, who did wrong, because it was all unanimous. So what I'm going to do instead, I think, is we're going to take a look at the three with the worst chance of winning and why they had the worst chance of winning, and three with the best chance of winning at the end of the day, the final 8, and kind of go from there. Make sense?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the bottom three, and these are going to be pretty similar reasons, I think, but let's start with the bottom three. Number 1.
Maryanne.
Yeah, Maryanne. Why Maryanne?
She's not in the big majority alliance, so she's not really protected, and the way she puts herself out there and her personality and stuff, she says her emotional and crying and everything worked well for her the one time, but it's not going to work well the whole time.
And she made a very emotional decision today by playing her idol.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand. She said that people were going to go home saying, well, she played the race card. That's why she stayed in the game. So she said, well, I want to eliminate that, so I'm going to play my idol. Or just don't make it a thing. Right? Yeah. The biggest way to avoid people accusing you of playing the race card is not playing the race card. Right. So I think that's a big part of our problem. Jonathan said he wants the 4 original, whatever the tribe was, to go to the end. And then he's going to have Maryanne be the decoy vote, which made no sense. And Lindsay's like, no, it's smarter to have Tori be the decoy vote. So if Dre does play her idol, Tori goes instead of Maryanne.
Right.
And they have the extra vote and everything like that, so they could get down to the final 8, and then have an extra vote, and an idol, and be good to go. But of course, Maryanne blew her idol today as well, so that all got blown up, all got messed up. So I think she made a very emotional decision, and she wasn't in a great spot anyways. I think she's likable. I think she was out next to the week after.
Yeah.
So maybe I think her high. I think the best, but I had her going out 18th. So if she finishes 7th instead of 18th, good for her.
Right.
Who we have next in the bottom 3?
Romeo.
Romeo, why?
He is also extremely emotional. wants to make any moves based off of being emotional and him getting upset with Omer about trying to bring High and Devote together and not wanting to do that. It's like, it's either you're going to do that or you're going to get voted out. So
That's exactly what I was going to say. You know, Romeo was like, oh, we have to work with High. Well, either that or you go home. Omer's going out there trying to help you stay in the game, but you're like, well, if you're going to keep me in the game, do you have to keep me in the game by using High?
Right.
It's like, what?
Yep.
Do you want to stay in the game or not, buddy?
Right.
You know, and so eventually he did, and they did work together, and they did what they needed to do. But, jeez, I'm a biting hand that feeds you.
Mm-hmm.
To quote the great Brandon Hans, I feed myself. Beep. Anyways, I'm bringing up all kinds of old Survivor episodes today. All right, let's go ahead and talk about. So that's what Romeo. I mean, obviously, and he's not in good shape, and again, very emotional, making very, very emotional decisions. I did like that he threw the vote out there, kind of stirred the pot. Because if you're on the bottom, that's what you kind of need to do, and he kind of tried to use that like, hey, High is being emotional, we should vote him out. So I think the most emotional player left in the game.
Right.
So either way. Anything else you want to talk about the next one?
Go to the next
Let's
one.
go to the next one. Who's number 3 in the bottom 3?
Mike.
Yeah, why Mike?
He's also an emotional player with a lot of things. A lot of his votes that he wanted to do and they have voted for was based off of emotion and not off of a strategy, if you will.
Yeah, I don't think Mike knows what strategy is.
No.
I really don't. And I don't. I almost wouldn't say it's emotion. I would say it's more just blind loyalty.
Yeah.
Like I'm loyal to these people. I'm loyal to these people, and that's all there is to it. And I'm voting with them. And he didn't want to vote out somebody else because he didn't want to go against his word.
Yeah, he doesn't want to stab people in the back, but eventually you're going to on this game. He just didn't want to do it yet. Not yet.
Yeah, but it's gonna be too late.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to stab in the back. Well, then you're gonna go there and lose.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be the person who struck too soon and got voted out immediately, for the person who waited too long and got the end and lost. I'm still the player who's making the big move and going out. Mm-hmm. Even though I think you should wait as long as you can to make the big move, I still think you still have to make it. Mm-hmm. You have to. I think that's his deal. There's a few players who really aren't playing any sort of strategy, and Mike's strategy is to just be loyal to certain people and ride to the end.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be good. That's not gonna get him to win. Mm-hmm. Not at all. And I knew he was gonna play that game. I just thought he'd go out sooner for it. That's all. I didn't think he'd make it this long, but
yeah.
I knew he would be that kind of player. I knew Rockford would be that kind of player. That he would just be very loyal and not make a move. And obviously, I knew I surprised both of them made it this far, but I thought maybe Rockford would make it a little bit farther than Mike. But I felt like they both were gonna be in pretty much the same boat. Mm-hmm. So. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll talk about the top 3. Quickly, you want to just go over what kind of transpired at the second term council? I mean, I know it almost broke you. It annoyed me as well. And there's various reasons to it, and it's more of a societal thing. It's more of a Survivor trying to be bigger than it is thing. Like, it's just a game show. Like, it's a game show. It's a strategy game at its best. It's a raunchy reality TV at its worst. It's not a political satire show. It's not going to change society. It's just a game show, right? And I hate when they try to make it more than that, and I hate when people, and it's you can call it white, whatever, about me, but the fact of the matter is, studies have said white people identify as other things other than white. Mm-hmm. Like, they identify as, their religion or their gender or their occupation, right? Whereas other people who are minorities identify as that, and that's fine. That's how they want to do it. That's how they wanted to do it. But to say that everybody is racist, and it's not, they were saying, oh well, we're not saying you're racist. You just see stereotypes. How do you know? Or like I said, for me, I walk into a room with people I don't know, and I usually sit in the corner and cry. But when I don't sit in the corner and cry, I see the person who's most similar to me personality-wise, and we talk, right? If the person's wearing a shirt for a sports team I like, we talk about that. If they're wearing a band t-shirt, talk about that. If they're wearing a shirt or a button for a political candidate, we'll talk about that. I'll talk to, and we can talk about Omer, I guess, when we kind of, for doing it the right way. right? Well, why don't you go into that? Why don't you take that part? It was what you said about Omer, because I think we were talking offline before this, and you said what you said about Omer. I think was completely correct.
How he doesn't mention anything about being Muslim. He prays and people ask him questions and he talks about it, but that's not what he doesn't bring up in every single confessional, like being a Muslim player on Survivor that hasn't made it this far. No one's made it this far that's been Muslim or anything like that. Like, he doesn't make it about that. He makes it about himself, who he is. He's Muslim, and we know that, and we've seen him pray and respect him for all of that stuff, but he doesn't make that his identity, because he's more than that. He's not just a Muslim guy. He's more than that.
Completely correct. And I think, it's different for different races and that, and all that is fine. And that's what you're making about. That's what you're going to make about. But it's hard to win the game when you're trying to carry that weight. Mm-hmm. And that's why Omer is doing such a good job, because he's not carrying the weight. He mentioned, there's never been a Muslim make the merge. Okay, cool. He mentioned it, and that's fine. And maybe somebody talks about more than they show on the show. That's fine, but he's not. I mean, when Dre, people were upset, were shocked about Rockstar going for different reasons. Dre seemed to make it like 2 black people around the jury. So okay, well, the first 2 black people voted out. First 2 black people voted out were at the merge. Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, usually black people give out early. Like most seasons, a black person can vote on the first through 3 votes. Mm-hmm. The fact that no black people can vote out until, is that true? I think right. No black people can vote out until the merge.
Yeah, it was just she said there was 4 in the season.
4 in the season. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So no other black people can vote out until the merge. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. And she voted one of them out. Mm-hmm. So you can't say, black people can vote out because now 2 black people can vote out, and now I'm a target. Well, you may have been a target, but they're not voting out because you're black, and they're not, and you can't say, Jonathan and Lindsay and them are voting me out because they're tight. They're tight with Marianne too. Mm-hmm. Marianne happens to be black,
right?
And they're not voting you out because they didn't say put it this way, if they would have said let's vote out because she's black, they would have showed it.
Yeah,
they would have showed it. They said she's got so many weapons, she's a huge threat. It's respect. They vote out Roxroy, Chanel because of threats. I mean, other reasons too. Mm-hmm. But you vote people out in the game because they're going to beat you.
Right.
And that's why they're targeting Drea, because she can beat them. And like the fact that 3 black people have gone out in a row means nothing. And Jonathan wanted to keep Tori because he didn't want to loop her into the plan because he didn't trust her. Hmm. Had nothing to do with the race. Right. And they say, it's Drea said, people like me think this way. Well, black people don't all think the same.
Right.
And white people don't all think the same. And it's Jonathan was voting people out, wanted to vote somebody out. He was being a bullheaded and wasn't making smart decision. The whole Jonathan and Lindsay thing reminded me a lot of Tori and Trish Tony and Trish from Tony's first season, because Tony would go out and just run face first into a wall and like piss everybody off, and Trish would be like, "It's okay, forgive him. He's just a little, And I think that's Lindsay's kind of that to Jonathan, right? Jonathan just like goes and does things, and Lindsay's like, "Okay, let's pull you back a little bit, let's dust you off," And I think that's a big part of that too. But Jonathan, you could say it's unconscious bias, but that doesn't mean anything. It really, really doesn't mean anything, because you don't know why he's thinking the way he's thinking. You're not in his head, and he's making a move for what he thought would be best for his game, and that included Marianne, and that included Omer. So it had nothing to do with race,
right?
But we have to make it about race, and once again we're going on this hole, because you as somebody who's a person of color, you see it this way, and you think all black people see it that way too, which isn't true. And then you're a white person, and you think all white people see it the same way, and they don't either. I've been a person who's called names because I didn't see black people as black people. I saw them as equals, as people. I saw them as everything, as normal people.
Right.
And they said, "Well, you don't see us as black?" I'm like, "No. I see you as friends." Mm-hmm. So, and that's one thing that people need to understand is, you can say, black people, and maybe they do. Maybe we can speak for all black people when we say this. Well, I can speak for most white people when I say we don't see race. Very, very few.
can't assume you all have unconscious biases when you don't even know the person. You just put everybody in a bubble and say that everybody has it.
Right. All white people have this. All black people have this. You can't say that. What do they say in Star Wars? Only the dark side speaks in absolutes. Right? You can't. There's no way that you can say all people think this way, because you don't know all people. You've never met all people.
Right.
So I wanted to kind of, and you were getting fired up about it, and I was too, like, and sure, I can say as a white person because I've not had their life experience, but they haven't had mine either. Nobody's had each other's life experience, and you can't say that theirs is easier or this one's harder or whatever. The things I've been through, there are black people who've have it way easier than I've had it. I've had it in other ways way easier than they've had it. We've all had different experiences. When you lose a loved one, it doesn't make it easier because you're white or black. Right? When you have things that are tough, when you have health issues, it doesn't make it easier because you're white or black. It doesn't. People are people, and we've got to get back to that. I say I end my politics show a lot, my news show a lot, with just treat people like you want to be treated, and don't assume that people see you a certain way because you look a certain way or you act a certain way. That really shouldn't matter. I know you're getting a little choked up here. I don't want to push you too hard on this. So, is there anything you definitely have to say, or?
No, I'm good.
Do you want to wrap up the topic and just kind of move on? Is there anything you want to wrap up with?
No.
So we can go ahead then. On that note, I wanted to kind of let you say your piece, but I think you've kind of. Yeah, I think we're both kind of in the same boat. And they said, and Jonathan was coming at. I related with him a lot because like, are you saying I'm a racist for making a decision that had nothing with? I wasn't even thinking. That wasn't even in my mind. And I said, well, it's subconscious. Well, how do you know? Like, who are you to say that? You know what's in every person's head. How? And then they said, well, we love you. We don't think you're racist, but you have unconscious bias, so you do think he's racist. Mm-hmm. Right, and that's not fair, and you can't put and to put that, and I'm the white guy saying that racism is not fair. Okay, fine, say it how you want to say it, but I see people as people. If they're good, they're good. They're bad, they're bad. If they're whatever, white people, black people, Asians, everything, gay, straight, trans, doesn't matter. If you're a good person, you're a good person. You're a bad person, you're a bad person. That's it. There's nothing else that needs to be a part of it, and that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Let's talk about the top three. And these are the people I think we have the three best shot of winning. With all that being said, who has the third best shot of winning? Would you say? Drea. After all that, because she has so many weapons, she's made moves, and I think her saying this about herself will attract people to her, and I really think that the four that made out of this tribal. On that tribe, I think have a really good shot. I think three of them at least have a decent shot to win. That being said, two of my top three are in the tribe, but I think Drea, she has a lot of weapons. She's not an overt threat, and I think people know she has weapons, and that's part of the problem. And also, I will say this too: the first time that Idols have been played, I think in 2 seasons, which is exciting. But Drea has a lot of ammunition. And I think that's good and useful for her. I think that could help her go deeper in the game.
Yeah.
Anything else to add about her? I mean, you kind of talked about it a little bit.
I mean, she gets along with people and has her alliances with whoever on the tribes and everything. But pretty much what you said.
Yeah, I think when she makes it about race and that, it gets. I think it will bring people to her. I also think it could push people away depending on how she says it.
I mean, we saw what happened last season, and they made it about that, and they didn't even vote for him. The only one made it to the finals.
Right. At the end, right.
In the end, he didn't win.
Right. So they made it all about race, and then they said we need a person of color, we need a black person to win the race, win this game, and there's 4 of them, and they all made that decision. And only one of them voted for the black guy. So it's just like I think a lot of it is and people use a lot of what they have, to be the victim. Jonathan even like People think of me as a big tough jerk. Blah blah blah. Okay, well, don't act that way, right? I mean, people are stereotype me all the time. Well, then don't be the stereotype.
Yeah, but how is he being the stereotype if people don't know who he is?
Well,
See, what he's saying is people are judging him before they get to know him.
And that's what I'm saying, right? But show them that you're not that, right? I mean, people. My point is, people are gonna stereotype you. It's just the way people stereotype everybody. They see somebody walking down the street, they're wearing a trench coat and long hair, and you think they haven't showered, they're probably gonna kill you. And then they walk up to you and they're smiling, they're the nicest person in the world. So the first impression is gonna be a thing, but you've got to manage that and show them who you really are.
Right.
As soon as possible. And I think that's what I'm saying. And Jonathan has showed that. He showed he's not a he's maybe not also that bright, but he showed that he's not, a big strong idiot who hates people. And is mean and nasty. He's shown that he's not that. So cool, keep doing that. Right? And same with other people. People might judge you for how you look, but people judge everybody for how they look. Doesn't have anything to do with your race, your gender, it's everything. They judge you on everything. So show them who you really are. So anyways, that's all I gotta say about it. So Drea, I think she still has the analogs, or the hell it is. Knowledge power. She'll I forgot about that too. She has the knowledge power advantage. She has extra vote, and she has the day one challenge. I forget what it's called. I keep on calling it analogs, but it's not what it is.
I have no idea.
Whatever it is, yeah. So she still has that as well. So and her and Lindsay have it, and then Hai. So, what's next? Who's next in the top three? Hai. Why is he here?
Because he's pretty much had the ability to work with everybody and mostly hasn't made emotional decisions about things, but he's played well, won immunity this week.
Yep. Yeah, he's decent in the challenges. He does remind me a lot of Ricard from last season. For that ability, win challenges, strategic, is friendly with pretty much everybody. Is definitely a threat. I don't know if he's the number one threat on the board at this point, but he's definitely a threat. And it's interesting, I listen to some other podcasts and listen to some from even last year or the year before, and they say things. They're seeing things in the game that I'm not seeing. I'm seeing things in the game they're not seeing. It's just so interesting. You can watch 10 people watch the same show and come up with different takeaways of who's doing well, who's not. Like I was watching. It was like around this middle of the merge on 39, and there was like, oh, Tommy's gonna win this. I thought Tommy had no shot to win it, which based on the edit, based on other things. But several like, oh, Tommy's winning this. I'm like, I think Lauren's winning it, and it was clearly Tommy, So it was just very interesting. And you can look at the same thing and come up with such different perspectives on it. But yeah, I think Hai's in the same. I think he's doing good. He did go to Mike and say, Mike, I want you to vote with me. I don't want to blindside you. But Mike was still not happy about it. He didn't want to do it. But he ended up going along with it. Mr. Integrity he went along with it. Voting out Roxroy. And I don't know. I don't know if how Mike's gonna handle that. Is Mike gonna come back and be like, we gotta go to Hai because he is a player, or he's just playing the game, doesn't really care, or is he gonna take that? He told me. Again, it's gonna be how does Mike react to that?
Yeah.
Does Mike want to burn Hai now because he was willing to cut Roxroy, or is Mike gonna say he's loyal to me because he told me? We'll see what happens. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Let's talk about who is number one right now. I think this is the number one player on the board overall.
Omer.
Why Omer?
Because he works with absolutely everybody, is open to everything, and hasn't tried to rule any decision making of anything. He's just trying to play across the board with everybody.
Yeah, he saved Jonathan and all that too. So he was kind of controlling that vote, but he said he doesn't want to pigeonhole himself, right? That's so important. Having alliances, not letting everybody else know you have multiple alliances, right? He's the go between the people who are kind of the outcasts and the people who are in the alliance, and he can relate to everybody, and that's the most important thing. The person who wins the game so often is the one who has the best relationships, and B, gets those relationships by being able to work with and relate to as many people as possible. He's relating to people who are the nerdy ones. He's relating to people who are the you can talk to people about religion. You can talk to people about being Canadian. You can talk to people about animals. You can talk to people about all the things, everything about his relationship. He was talking to Mike about his relationship, right? I mean, you can, and that is the key. I think that's the key to life. I think that's kind of the key to life: being able to relate to as many people as possible. Building relationships, at least relationship building in life. Part of that, being able to relate to as many people as possible and build relationships with those people. I think it's really, really important.
Yeah.
And I think Omer's doing such a good job of it, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, things can change. There's a lot of randomness. High said it. There's a lot of randomness in this game. Well, no shit. Especially this season. Especially last season. There's too much producer interference. But it's supposed to make it more exciting, and I think it's actually kind of doing the opposite. Because the votes have still. I mean, you said if we would have gone into this vote, you would have said it's going to be Marianne if she doesn't play her idol, Romeo or Tori. Mm-hmm. And then if something crazy happens, maybe Roxroy.
Yeah.
And that's who it was. So it's like, it still wasn't that shocking. Still nothing really out of the ordinary happened.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anything else to add?
No, I don't think so.
All right. So it was a lot to unpack this episode. It was not a lot strategically. It was just a lot of extracurricular, which, again, we really don't need. But be sure to subscribe if you miss anything. If you like our Facebook page, Paper Productions Facebook, you can email the show directly to paperproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe, share the post, tell your friends. We'll get more sports shows out soon, and maybe another news politics show out as well. So definitely be sure to subscribe so you get all that stuff. And we'll see what we do next week. I'll see who's here next week. We'll see if we do a show next week. It's been very it's been an interesting and a rough couple seasons even. But I don't know. I guess I really don't want to go more into what happens. So we can just leave it at that. Do you have anything else to wrap up with, or
No.
You good?
I'm fine, I guess.
You said your piece?
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you anything else you want to throw out there. I think you're okay?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. So we'll leave it at that. So definitely subscribe and let us know what you thought. And we'll be back next week. At least I'll be back next week. We'll see what happens. I think I'll be back next week. Who knows? But until next time, I got nothing else for you. Because the tribe has spoken.